Hi, welcome to PhotoshopLightroomTV. I'm your host Marek Mularczyk from sitetraining.co.uk, and another week, another fantastic loads of really interesting tips and techniques. Can't wait. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode and the tutorials that were presented. Now this week we'll have a loads of information for you. I hope you enjoying my YouTube channel. There's loads of videos that I'm posting on the YouTube channel. You'll find loads of videos about Photoshop and about Lightroom, also about Adobe Bridge. Okay. Now this week I've got a couple of tutorials for you. We've got a tutorial in Lightroom. There's one tutorial in Photoshop and Bridge in conjunction. Okay. And there's also a very interesting website that I want to share with you, a photography website, because we're about photography as well. Okay. Now let's start with some photography tips and tricks and techniques and some helpful info. When you're choosing a new camera, there are so many cameras on the market nowadays, so it's really hard to decide which one to buy. And very often I get asked, what camera should I buy? Should I go for the really expensive one or a cheaper one? What are the pros and cons? Now, from my perspective, what you need to consider when buying a camera is how you're going to use it. What are you going to use it for? Do you want to shoot video? Does the camera need to be video? Do you need an SLR camera or a compact camera? For example, myself, I've been using SLR cameras for many years, and I just can't handle the compact cameras. Sometimes I take the compact cameras from my friends, and it's so tiny, it's really hard to keep them stable. So I'm just used to SLR cameras. Okay? So, because very often what I see is people spend loads of money on the cameras with the features that I never use really. Okay? Now, for example, when I was buying a camera, I'm a amateur photographer, semi-pro photographer, and what I needed in my camera is, well, I didn't really need a full frame. I'm a Canon user, so because I don't need a full frame, I wasn't even considering 5D Mark II at that time last year, or 1DS. Okay. I did need the video, so I was considering the 7D. And what I loved about 7D is that it can also shoot a video, and it can also distribute the signal to the flashes using the built-in flash in the camera. That's why I decided on 7D, and it's a really good camera. But you know, it really depends what you're looking for. All the major brands now have really good cameras. Canon has the 60D or even 1000D, a very good camera. Nikon has good cameras as well. So depends what you really need. Okay, right. Now let's move on to our first tutorial. Our first tutorial will be in Lightroom. So let's have a look on that. Here I am inside Adobe Photoshop Lightroom, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to create rounded corners on the images. We're going to take an image, add rounded corners to it, so then we could use it online. It's very popular nowadays to have images with rounded corners on the websites on the internet. Even when I use my blog, I do use the rounded corners on the images very often. So if we look in here, just going to launch it, and it looks so nice when the images have rounded corners. It looks so much better than having just a normal sharp edges on the corners. For example, this graphic here has nice rounded edges, or if we scroll down to, let's see, maybe an older page like this image, it's blending nicely with the background. Okay, so I'm in Lightroom here. I'm going to use this image, and I don't want to work on the original, so I'm going to create a virtual copy. You can use the keyboard shortcut Control apostrophe, or you can go to Photo and create virtual copy. Okay, so I'm going to create a virtual copy, and that's what I'm going to work on the virtual copy. This is the word virtual copy. You can see by this curled pages corner. I'll go to the develop module. I can also press D to go straight to the develop module. Okay, and well, I'm here in the develop module, and I'm just going to here. I'll just scroll down and I'll go into the effects section. Okay, in the effects section, I'll apply the post-crop vignetting. So I'll start by changing the amount slider to 100 plus 100. This gives me white edges. If I change it to minus 100, this gives me black edges. So I'll change it to plus 100. Okay. Then I'll take the feather and I'll drag it to the left to 0. This creates a nice white with no feather. Then I'll take the roundness and I'll drag it to the left to change the roundness of the image. Then I'll also use the midpoint slider and I'll move it to the left to bring some more information here. Then I'll move the roundness once again. Now it depends how rounded you want the edges to be. This looks really interesting. Okay. Very quick and easy way to create images with rounded corners inside Adobe Photoshop Lightroom. The next step would be to export it and put it on the web. Okay. This was a really quick and easy tip in Adobe Photoshop Lightroom. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial in Lightroom. A great feature in Lightroom, an interesting effect that can be created in Lightroom. Now we'll move on to Photoshop, and the tutorial I want to share with you this week is a tiny subtle enhancement in Adobe Photoshop CS5. If you follow my blog, PhotoshopLightroomBridge.co.uk, you find that last week on Thursday I had a post about little subtle enhancements in Photoshop CS5. Most people are focusing on the big improvements. I know, it's huge. The corner wire fill is amazing, puppet warp is fantastic, but there's loads of really subtle small improvements in Photoshop as well. And sometimes they make a huge difference in your workflow. So what I want to show you now, this time, is a little enhancement when straightening the images in Photoshop. In the previous version of Photoshop, you would use the ruler tool and then you would use the menus. You look for different options in the menus. But now Adobe made it so much easier with Photoshop CS5 because there's a little button that you can click to quickly straighten your images. Okay, so let's have a look, and I will be back for the tip of the week and this interesting website I wanted to share with you. So I will see you in a few minutes. Okay, here I am inside Adobe Photoshop, and I'm going to show you how now with Photoshop CS5 we can easily and quickly crop the images. In previous versions of Photoshop, and I showed this tutorial on one of the episodes of Photoshop Lightroom TV, I would use the ruler tool, okay, then define the straight line, a line of horizon here on the image, just like that. Then I'll go to image, image rotation and arbitrary, okay, and it works fine. When you select it, Photoshop will define the angle for you and can press OK and will crop it for you. That's fine. But now with Photoshop CS5 we can do it so much easier and quicker. Just going to cancel that. I'm still with my crop tool. With the ruler tool. I'm still selecting the line horizon. I think it's not really straight, so I'm just going to clear that. And I'll do it once again. I'll just click and drag here on the image. This looks fine. And now in Photoshop CS5 we have the straighten button in the options bar. This is the new feature in Photoshop CS5. So now in CS5 I'll just click on straighten and Photoshop will do all the rest. It even cropped this image, rotated it, and now it's got a nice wide border around it. The final step would be to crop the image, so I would use the crop tool and I would just crop it just like that, and now the image is cropped and it's straight. Okay, so that's how easy it is now with Photoshop CS5 to straighten the images. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it, and look some more tutorials from me, Marek Mularczyk from SiteTraining.co.uk. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this one as well in Photoshop. Now, here's the tip of the week for you. This tip of the week, this time, is in Photoshop CS5. This will be a tiny great feature in Photoshop CS5. This applies to CS5 only, because this is one of the improvements in CS5. In previous versions of Photoshop, if you wanted to change the opacity of multiple layers, you had to do it on the one-by-one basis. But now in Photoshop CS5, you can highlight many layers at the same time, using the Shift key or Control key. And then you can change the opacity, and this will change the opacity for all the selected layers at the same time. A little tiny improvement, fantastic when you work with multiple layers, loads of layers in Photoshop CS5. Okay, now let's finish up with the website that I want to share with you. This is a website of a fellow photographer called Jacek Szydłowski from Poland. He's got a fantastic website with loads of really interesting photographs, street photography, fashion photography as well. So let's have a look on that, and we'll be back in just a moment. Here I am once again, and this is the website I wanted to show you. This is the website of a fellow photographer, Jacek Szydłowski from Poland, and he's got a fantastic website with fantastic photographs in here. So I'm on this website. It's madphotos.kilos.po. That's the address. Got loads of really interesting photographs. For example, in here I can see the photographs from the recent World Championships in Sumo 2010. Great photographs, worthy have a look on that. Lots of really interesting photographs in here. You can also jump to other galleries. If I go to pages, I can jump into Londoners, and I can see some photographs from London. Okay. He's based in Lublin in East Poland, but he used to do loads of photography here in London. He does photography for many magazines, and fantastic photographs, really great photographer. You can also contact him from here. There's an email address and a telephone number. I hope you enjoyed it, and let's get back to studio. Thank you. Okay, welcome back once again. This is the last time this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Photoshop Lightroom TV, and I hope to see you soon. Now here's the bad news. This is our last episode this year. Yeah, because Christmas is this weekend. So I'm going to see you next year, in a year's time. Our next episode will run at the beginning of January. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching all these episodes of Photoshop Lightroom TV. I hope to see you next week, next year. There'll be more and more tips and tricks and tutorials in Photoshop and Lightroom and Adobe Bridge as well. Some photography tips and tricks. So thank you for watching. I wish you Merry Christmas. Have a peaceful time this Christmas, and I will see you next year. Once again, I'm Marek Mularczyk from sitetraining.co.uk, one of the UK's leading specialists in Adobe certified training. And thank you for watching. This was Photoshop Lightroom TV. Thank you. Bye bye.